Alright, so today be the day we're going to put the transmission in. Finally, I know. Kind of been slacking, and then this has taken forever to get here. So we have everything switched over except for, I got to put the collar and whatnot, the clutch fork, all that stuff over. That should be pretty simple. So we're going to try to lift this up. I need to push the motor, like roll it back a little bit, just like that. So that way it makes it easier to put the trans in. So I'm going to probably grab one jack for the front. We're going to jack up the side so we can get this down and under. And then I'm going to use the ratchet strap method, where basically what we do is we put the trans in a spot, we lift it up with two ratchet straps equally, and then we can get a trans jack underneath of it and whatnot. But we're going to have to do it in the stones. So I'm going to grab a couple of these because I'm not doing this again with this trans. This one was easy to get out. This one, not so much. By the way, this one is for sale if anybody needs like a good core. It still ran and everything, if you can figure out the fifth gear issue, whatever. But just $700, take the whole thing. Core charges on them are a lot more. Alright, so the trans went from over here to over there. I did take the reverse sensor back out and the mount back out. I've been sliding these. So, kind of the way of getting it over here to over here was, you know, not fun. It definitely sucked, and I had to do it all by myself. No help from anybody. This trans is about 360 pounds, mind you. So the mats definitely help, but unfortunately once you hit one with a roller, it stops rolling. Alright, so a little bit of time later, it did end up raining a little bit. Nothing super crazy. This thing's sealed off, so I'm not worried about this. So, I dropped a nut inside the frame, and I'm like, okay, yeah, let me get it out with my magnet tool. And look what I perfectly pulled out. You guys will see here these holes. This perfectly came out of this hole. There's a U-joint end cap. Just chilling in the frame. But here's, you guys, I'm going to make the camera quality a little bit better here. Right there. So, you guys can see that. That's the new mounts right here. I did have to move the exhaust over a little bit to get the top two bolts. Yes, I put every single bolt back in. I know how you guys hate those two upper bolts. I did get them, a little bit of a pry bar. I took a magnet on the other side to get this one to pull that through. Showed you in the previous video. Here is the cross member chilling. So we got that all painted up on Saturday. So once we get this in, hopefully that cross member works perfectly with the new mount. That's what it's supposed to do. I wasn't expecting this mount to be so far back. I was hoping that I'd have been able to use the front holes, but we were not able to do that because to do that, this thing would need clearance, something fierce, but at the same time, I feel like that also changes the geometry, so I'm willing to bet that they want you to use the back hole. I feel like they've already expected that. So, like I was saying about taking the mount off, this thing would just want to dig into the ground. I had to take that off and that sensor out so we didn't break it, just in case this thing rolls over. All those guys that liked my video on me swapping an Nv5600 down in Florida in the parking lot, this is basically the same thing. Yes, the shop's in front of me, but it's no different than having like a Pep Boys here. So just pretend this is Pep Boys and this is the Pep Boys parking lot. And there's a big trailer behind this. If you guys remember that video, you'll know. But this sucks. And I was expecting to be able to do this in there, but that Durango, we're waiting on some wheels and tires for it. And then it's just like, the plan was to roll this in, but that's not going to happen. So I need to grab a second jack, lift this up even more. Yes, I have it chalked. The e-brake is on. There is no gear, any of that stuff. So, I mean, this could roll at any minute, but the second-gen Dodges have a really good e-brake. So, I'm going to start, you know, making my way under. I used a ratchet strap to kind of pull it a little bit. I'm noticing that as I'm trying to deadlift this thing, like from a very, very low angle, my ribs are kind of like pushing in places they shouldn't be. I can kind of feel them popping, so I'm going to chill out a little bit. Alright guys, I did it. I didn't get it in, but I did get it in the spot. They do put a little bit of ATF, I guess, on the output, so it does leak a little bit, but there's like no fluid in this thing, so that's a good thing. So now I get the fun task of lifting this thing up and getting in the truck. And for the guys saying no jack stands, whatnot, first of all, there is enough room under here. And second of all, I couldn't get lucky enough for these jack stands to both fail simultaneously and crush me, okay? Now that all that's done, we have this back down on the ground. What we're gonna do is lift it up with the ratchet straps, and then I'm gonna throw a jack or two underneath of it to kind of guide it. Might go and grab my trans jack, I don't know yet. That thing's kind of been a pain. I'm trying to find a simpler way for that. Hopefully one day we're able to use the lift for jobs like this. I gave you guys an update in the previous video, but we're gonna pretty much try to dumb this down to part-time. I am working on some other things that I, one, enjoy more, but two, should make a lot more money. Also on top of that, we're also focusing on the other YouTube channel, so if you wanna go subscribe to that, I put a link below. But I'm really hoping that I can get the second channel to blow up like this one did. I know it's gonna take a while. It's not gonna be no like overnight thing, but what's worth doing is definitely worth waiting for and worth working towards. And I'm enjoying these things and the gym a lot more than I enjoy diesel stuff. My goal has been to like be a clean person for the longest time, and unfortunately when you do stuff like this you get a little dirty. This is the cleanest I've been in a while, but like I'm laying around in the stones. I'm getting, you know, a little too old to be doing this stuff. I used to enjoy it, not so much anymore. I used to love building trucks and just enjoying my own thing, but I'm kind of sick of them at this point. It's like 7 years of doing the same thing, and who knows, 7 years from now maybe I'll be sick of doing these too. It's just one of those things. As we get older, we kind of change our mind on things and just don't enjoy what we used to. And these big heavy pieces of machinery that just take every bit of money that we have in our bank accounts. That's their job. That's what they do. At least I don't own a 6.0 though. But this thing, also, I'd like to address the second thing Josh said, or someone said in the comments, this is like the most expensive stock second gen that they've ever seen. And unfortunately, this thing is nowhere near stock. The only thing stock is the bottom end itself. The head is not stock. There's upgraded turbo, upgraded injectors, P-pump has been modified. You know, there's been a couple of stuff down here that's not stock. The exhaust manifold, different trans, different tires. Like, there's been a lot of things that have been gone over this thing. Cold air intake, exhaust. There's not much stock left. Even the in the head, nothing is stock in the head either. Everything's been replaced in there, so it's an aftermarket head. So basically, half the engine's been replaced. The only thing stock on it is the bottom end itself and the truck. So even the clutch has been upgraded. Mind you, all this stuff together, let's say trans is about $6 grand, the clutch is about 1,500 bucks, the turbo, the manifold, there's another 2 grand, the head, there's about 3 grand, cold air intake, that's like, what, 100 bucks, something like that. The exhaust is 500 or 600 bucks, the tires are like 1,200 bucks, mirrors, all the extra stuff. This thing is, there's a lot of, I think, and then he paid 10, so I'd like to say this truck has about 40 grand into it. And he's not done, because like he wants to make more power. So it's like, I know we're going to be upgrading the injectors to 5x14 soon. Well, not soon, but like he wants to do that, I think, for next season. But definitely a lot of fun stuff. The head's also been O-ringed. That's even more money on top of it. That's why this head was like 3, because I think he paid like 18 for it. I'm just throwing out rough estimates, by the way, if I'm a little off on certain things, but definitely after adding it all up, this truck has about 40 grand into it. And then he's looking for wheels, tires, like to get it painted eventually. I mean, there's no rust on this thing. Or maybe we get lucky and this, you know, catches fire and then he never has to look at it again. But upgraded radiator as well. This has been replaced. It's just, you know, one of those. Yeah, a lot of money into it. The head gasket thing, kind of learning between him doing all 6 of those, you know, taking them all off at once and blowing the head gasket and then getting screwed over on a cheap head gasket. He thought he was buying an OEM one, kind of got screwed on that. It wasn't an OEM head gasket where he blew everything on that. So that wasn't his fault. It's just kind of one of those learning curve, unfortunately. But now that that rant's over, I'm gonna start picking this thing up in, and I'm not doing time lapses because a lot of you guys complain about time lapses, so I kind of did away with them. But in the meantime, I'm gonna get it up in there and show you kind of what we did. So I always get a little suspicious when things are going really, really smoothly, and this is going really, really smoothly. So I'm kind of suspicious. I got the board back there, so that way it can't roll. I got one in the front, and I just put the jack under it now. So as we're going through and doing this, you guys can tell I don't do cardio. I always be breathing heavy, and I also have asthma, so there's that. Going fairly smoothly, so I'm gonna jack the back up a little bit. I'm gonna kind of try to keep it level, but as long as it keeps moving as easy as it is, we'll have this thing in here in probably about half an hour. Usually they go quicker than that, but we are on a pretty bad surface. So. All right, I hope you guys are enjoying my suffering at this point. So we got 2 more ratchet straps. What I got going on right now is the jack is supporting back there, and then I got 2 in the front. We're about where we need to be, so I'm gonna get 2 ratchet straps and start pulling that way evenly. Then we're gonna give a little bit more lift. You wanna be careful and make sure that nothing's gonna cut these straps, because if something does, this thing's going down. And I've got my supports there just in case. I have 2 jacks, but the other one is jacking up the motor because it wanted to sit like that, so I had to bring it back to, you know, where it needs to be from the factory, because if not, this trans will end up hitting the hole at the top. So what we're gonna do, a little bit more lift, and we're gonna try to start stabbing. Now you wanna try to be as straight as possible when you stab this in. This is definitely not the correct way to do this, but unfortunately, you know, making do with what I have. We're gonna get this thing stabbed in, like I said, about getting it in as straight as possible. You don't want it to be crooked at all, and you wanna make sure that all the holes are lined up. You don't wanna just put one in, because you will snap. You will snap a case, a bell housing. You see that over there? Don't do that. So with this one, and this is an expensive trans, so I am not screwing this up. So we're gonna try to start pulling evenly and make sure that everything's level, and we'll go from there. It would be nice to have that second jack, but unfortunately, make do with what you got. I got it in, it's all bolted, everything's done. So that's the drive shaft. So you can see there's the nice new piece there. Let me get you guys zoomed in, because the camera quality is nicer on one. There you go, in the dark. So she's all bolted up and everything. Just gotta put the exhaust on. We're doing the rear seal in the back while everything's off. I'm just waiting on that. And I gotta tighten that nut down. So I'm not looking forward to that. That is gonna suck. Yeah, she is a work of art. Truck is officially a 6-speed. Now, if you guys want me to do a detailed video on what it what's required, and you can see like all of this stuff's all screwed up. So I'm trying to get him to get a different boot. It's terrible. This boot, these transmissions scream. So I want him to go get a new boot, and we're still gonna reuse that. But all of the Nv5600 stuff, this is all gonna go over with this transmission. I'm actually glad this thing didn't sell yet. I had a guy, he keeps offering $600 for it, and I told him no. And I'm glad we didn't, because I forgot to take the dowel out of it. So I put the dowel over in there. We also took, you can see here, the washer. We took the washer out, or I took the washer out of that little ball right there, because it is a dual disc. So I had to take that out of the Nv5600. Everything else works. The only thing is we're not gonna have reverse lights yet. We have to extend the harness to bring it down here. So not gonna do that today, but I am going. Here's the drive shaft. Josh ended up launching this one. So eventually, I guess we do need to get one of these. I want to get him a nice new drive shaft eventually. Or actually, I think he was looking into one pieces, so might not even worry about that. But the yoke from the NV will work. This one does have a decent gouge in it. I don't like that, but this should sit somewhere different on this transmission. And everything else is good, so we're gonna reuse this. Nothing, I think we had to fix the U-joint on that one because it launched these, so we put different U-joint end caps on there. I get the drive shaft and everything all bolted up, but I'm not gonna connect the rear section. I am gonna take that out today. We were supposed to get the seal. I'm assuming it'll be in tomorrow, and we also need 8 quarts of fluid, 7.5, and the shifter. And then this thing's ready to go, and then hopefully we're gonna be working with aux beam on getting the light bar and all that on there. I just gotta figure out where he wants it and take the time. I'm gonna be a little busy this week. So we do have that other truck that is in. I'm gonna put that on yet, I forgot about that. Besides that, I have his wiring all tied up in the frame. We gotta figure out the speedo eventually. Here we go, she is done. I just got the new, not new, but I got the exhaust clamp on, so we should have no leaks. Everything should be all said and done. It's been a hot minute since I worked on the engine, so I can't remember exactly what I did. I know I told him he needs to get a new one of these. I'll let him know. He knows how to do all that, so he's not gonna have me do it. I gotta go get an impact for the rear. We're still waiting on parts for that, a shifter, and some fluid. And then this thing's ready to basically drive out of here. I am curious on something. That's kind of nutty. You guys know how they don't make a gasket? Well, it's close, but it's not perfect. I don't know. Let me know if you guys would use that. That's kind of neat that it's pretty damn close in size for the gasket. I mean, the internal section right there doesn't really matter, but that's kind of neat. So we're just waiting on that. I'm going to stuff a rag in there. in there in the meantime so that there's nothing that gets in it. But that's pretty much all I can do today. She is probably about a half hour from being, you know, ready to drive out of here. So I'll give him the good news tonight, and then we'll get on to the rest of this video. But if it's long enough, I'm going to upload it as is. We'll show you guys the finished product later. I got to get cleaned up, and we are done for the day. So I made up my mind. I am going to end the video here, and I want to let you guys know, if you guys are interested in the moto vlogs, like I said, go check out the second channel. If you guys like Jixerbra, he's definitely one of my favorite guys to watch. If you want like a calmer, dumbed down version of that, like a lot calmer, you know, not as giddy and, you know, not as super hype, but go check it out. I have a brand new GoPro on order. So between all said and done, I spent about 600 bucks here between the helmet, between the GoPro and all the add-ons and whatnot. So that should be here by the 2nd. This GoPro for some reason doesn't work. I've tried multiple new batteries. I've tried all of the tutorial videos online, and not a single one has made this GoPro work. So I'm gonna go get a second one and then probably send this one out to get rebuilt if it's worth it. But you can get these cameras for like 200 to 250 bucks, so they're not super bad. Go check that channel out. It's also gonna have some gym rat stuff on it, so we might post some of the workouts over there as well, because a lot of you guys have wondered how I basically went from some skinny 130 pound kid to now I'm 153 pounds and extremely strong. Very, very muscular at this point. If you guys want to see that, just go check that out. I will be posting shorts, one short every single day until everything goes up, and then we'll probably, you know, one short a day, and then every couple days do a video on it. But I am putting some serious time and effort into that channel. So appreciate you guys.